Hey guys, Daniel, Faust, and Learn and Live. Now, I hope you guys are excited for Friday. Amazing time. And we are going to go jump into our topic because we know you guys want your weekend despite being stuck at home for weeks on end. Can't wait for that freedom, right? We hope that it happens soon, but be safe in the in-between. So let's go jump in to our topic. So if you've been watching with us this week, we've been in the boardroom in a sense. It's actually the garage boardroom right now. We hope to transform it over time. The topic is tornado leadership. And the reason why it's tornado leadership is we have seconds to minutes to get into shelter in a tornado. I can't believe I spelled that wrong. The same is true for people to shield themselves from your emotions. Your emotions could be crazy because we feel them and then we just boom and we act out. So my question I have for you is, does your coworkers run for shelter when you enter the room? That's a huge thing to go over and to think about. And what we talked about this week is on Tuesday, we went over and we spoke on self-awareness, to go over and to understand ourselves, to understand our feelings, to understand our emotions. Because if you don't understand, you're just going to go boom and boom and boom. And you need to know not just to feel it out, but you need to think it out. And on Thursday, we talked about some self-management practices. We gave you some top 6 tips to go over and do that. We also talked about self-awareness top 6 tips. There's actually 17 strategies in the book, Emotional Intelligence, on each of these, and you can go grab them. But we hit our top 6 on there because once you can realize your emotions and you can manage them, then tonight, as we talk about, we can work on social awareness and relationship management. We took both those topics we were going to do on Thursday, Friday, and we bundled them on Friday because Wednesday was our big opening for our show, and we wanted to go over and give focus on that. So tonight is about social awareness and relationship management strategies. So let's go dive in. What is social awareness? Social awareness is recognizing and understanding the moods of others. Like my mood, do you know what it is? Do you recognize it? Because when you recognize other people's moods in other groups, you're able to go over and become a mind reader of sorts. So let's get our BLT with W. So how we go over and do this, what BLTW means, body language, tone, and words. When you're able to see those things, you're able to go over and become a mind reader of sorts. My kids are always like, how do you know what's going on? Because I'm reading your body language, I'm hearing your tone, and I'm hearing your words. And a lot of times our body language and our tone is discongruent to our words. So you're able to that's what you're really feeling, or that's what it is. So when you go over and become socially aware, you start reading other people's body language and tone. And a way to go over and to practice some of this stuff is to become a stalker. And I don't mean like in a real way. I mean in a funny way, like people watching. This goes over and helps you to go over and understand. Maybe you need to watch more Facebook videos of what we go over and teach. Or maybe you need to go over and get back to the mall when it opens to go over and do that. Or maybe some of the events when we get out there. Then we can go over and be the people watcher. Thanks for all the comments, by the way. I'll answer the comments at the end, just so you guys know. Just because it's this new filter. Going from there, you also need to be socially aware. You need to have a good filter. And having a good filter is having clean water. Actually, I'm going to pause for a second since there's so many comments over there and see if there's any questions real quick. Read my mind then? That's illegal. Oh, okay. Can you read my mind? That's funny, Bert. Stalker. No, it's stalker alert. Oh, okay. You guys are just interacting. That's really cool. I usually don't get people that interact in my comments. All right. So from there, you got to have a good filter. You got to have clean water. And the way you go over and do that is you need to, as you're going through self-management and self-awareness, you need to take yourself out of the picture. This is going to be key to go over and doing that. And we're going to give you our top 5 strategies. When you go read Emotional Intelligence, it's actually 17 strategies. And we chose our top 5 to go over and equip you. So again, if you're watching this for the first time or watch this throughout the week, we highly recommend you getting the book Emotional Intelligence. It gives you those strategies. It gives you the stories. goes over and gives you the emotional intelligence quiz. It's a very worthwhile book. They have it electronic. They have it Audible. You can get it paper. Amazon can get it to you real quick. It's fantastic. So here's a couple of the strategies that we go over and what we think is worthwhile. Watch body language. Name that emotion. What a lot of the times we go over and do is we get caught in our head to go over and to connect with people. And the thing is that if we take the time to start going over and reading people's body language and naming that emotion, that's going to go help you in that regard. Maybe sometimes you need to go and play it as a game with your kids and with your wife and maybe with friends when we can get out, or maybe you do a virtual version of it. But when you go over and watch the body language of people, you'll get 55% of what's going on with them. That is the majority of it. The 38% is tone and 7% is words. So video is so addictive in a sense is because you get all of it all at once. When we get on the phone, you're not getting that much. You're not getting the body language anymore. You lost 55% of the conversation. You wonder why we get in arguments. Then you add text. Text is 82% tone and 18% words. And that's the reason why we have difficulty in those particular worlds. So watching body language will go over and help you to go over and to grow your social awareness. Also, another way to grow social awareness is back pocket questions. Break that awkward silence. And I'll get to the comments in a minute to see if there's any questions. Back pocket questions is we get into a conversation. Sometimes we're not reading the body language right. Or we go over and ask the questions and we're just getting a no, a no, a no, a yes. We get short, quick, quirky answers. What you need to go over and do, somebody's mad, I'm sorry about that, is that to break the awkward silence is to go over and have that question. So you might have an I feel question. What do you go over and feel like in this conversation? Or maybe something to that effect. Whatever it is, it's just you start planning out those questions, especially when you're in social situations. If you go over and don't think it through, you're going to tend to feel it through. And that's the reason why we have difficulty in the social aspects in that regard. Let me go back to comments to see if anybody has any questions. Okay, I'm getting trolled. All right, we're just going to go ignore those comments. All right, going from there is in our third topic is don't take notes, observe. A lot of times we can learn more, especially in board meetings and things of nature, to feel out where people are at, is to actually not to go over and write notes. In this particular regard, you're actually taking mental notes on what the person's saying, what the person is doing, what the person is feeling, what are they really conveying. When we go over and do that, we're more engaged. So take your phone out of the conference room or in the big meeting when you go back and go over and just go over and watch people. Now, obviously, if you have to write something down because someone's directly talking to you or something you need to know, hey, take a quick jot note. But the better way to go over and connect with people is actually take that time to go over and observe. And when you take those mental notes, it's going to help you a lot easier when you get into those bigger social situations. I think a lot of reason why people have difficulty doing public speaking, Facebook Lives, and the reason nature is because they don't take time to go over and observe, or they think there's a certain thing that they're observing when they're on stage or on a Facebook Live, and it's not. Just like right now, I go over and look at my comments, I go see if it's worthwhile, and I observe, and then I make a decision compared to go over and feeling it out. So when you're in these situations, observe the situation. Keep that brain clutter quiet and go over and see if you can go over and observe better and go over and connect better. Another one, when we get back into real life, or even when you're doing a Zoom or whatever meeting, is social preparing. Get ready for Angry Sam and Talky Bob. And this doesn't matter if it's a Facebook Live, instant message. It doesn't matter if you're going out in public or going out to a big meeting. Whatever it is that some people you're going to know that are going to be those people. You're going to have the talky person. You're going to have the angry person. You're going to have the mean person. You'll go and have whatever it is. If you don't go over and prepare, things go really awry. I can remember even when I started doing Facebook Lives and I started doing Periscope, which we are streaming to them now, is that when I first went on there, I wasn't socially prepared for that environment. And I had people go over and troll me and started giving negative comments, started going saying I was selling a couch, da 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 da, and it just kept going. And the thing was, is that guess what? For me, it totally failed because I wasn't socially prepared. Now that I go over and do these things, when I go to events, like some of the events I go to in person, I'm usually the first person that gets there. So I don't have that social awkwardness. I can start reading the room and start seeing, even if I'm networking, which person's more talky, which person's more quiet, which person's more the angry person, which person is drinking to deal with their woes and they're really not networking. Or if I go to a church event, I know which people are going to be loving, connecting, which ones are not. So another suggestion to go prepare in this and learn better EQ is socially preparing. What type of situations you're going to walk in? What responses are you going to go over and to make? So that's another one. Our last one for the social side is stop the interrupting cow. Moo. What happens is in social awareness is that we tend to go over and get in our head. Every 17 seconds, there is an interruption. That's why on certain platforms, you go over and people are more engaging, people are less engaging. But what happens is that we first get to know people and we're considerate. But as we're having those conversations and we're more interconnected, we just keep going over and interrupting. We interrupt and we think what they're going to say and we know what they're going to say. And we usually don't. We usually don't because we didn't take that time to go over and read. We were in our head. We didn't read the body language. We didn't read the tone. We didn't read the words. We heard something in the sentence. We made an assumption, which makes an A out of you and me. And long story short, you got the interrupting cow. And that's why we have difficulty in relationships because we just keep mooing. So I'd suggest you to go over and to learn to bite your tongue. And even in the social world, sometimes you have to listen to the person totality before going over and making an opinion. I learned that myself. It's really, really hard to go over and do that. But as we go over and learn to bite our tongue and not to go always mooing all the time, we actually get to know people a lot better. Let's go check the comments real quick. Hey, Catherine, thanks for joining. She was saying hello. All right. So now going into there, now we have somewhat of an idea of social awareness. And again, this is 30,000 feet. So go over and grab the book, Emotional Intelligence. I am going really fast, really hard, because I want to steward your time, especially on a Friday. But I wanted to give you these golden grenades to go over and to connect with. So relationship management is actually mixing all the elements of EQ to make your relationships last. Because if we just take a part of it and don't go over and use the rest of it, and we just piecemeal these things together, we usually go over and fail. You're like, I really know how I go over and feel, but I don't know how they feel. Or like, I really know how they feel, but I don't know my feelings and I just explode on everybody. We have to have a balance of both. We have to be socially aware. We have to, not socially aware. We have to be self-aware. We have to self-manage, and we have to be socially aware to then to go over and manage those relationships. So this is our last 5 tactics, or last 5 major areas. Again, there's 17 strategies, tactics that are in each chapter, and I'd highly recommend you reading them all. The great part is the book is only literally, like, each of these tactics are 1 or 2 pages. It's a quick story, some examples, how to apply it, boom, said and done. You literally can just go into the chapter and say, hey, I want to focus on relationship management, and that's where I want to go. That is a great thing about the book. So first one, enhance your communication style. Dial up the good and tone down the bad. In this particular regard is that we need to know what things we bring to the table that are good. For myself, I can be really energetic. I can go over and speak on the fly. I can take a lot of content and go over and absorb it and then teach it. But I also can go over for myself, be really opinionated, really controlling, and I can go really say how it is sometimes. And that's the thing, is I need to dial up the good in that regard, but to tone down the bad. And you have to be aware. So you still have to go back to that awareness to go over and figure out what your feelings are and everything else, and go over and do that. So that's the first one. Second one is take feedback well. So doesn't matter if it's social media, doesn't matter if it's in person, doesn't matter if it's a virtual meeting and everything else, is that feedback's going to happen. More times than not, the more distant we are, the more feedback comes. In the social media world, it comes real quick, real fast. When it goes over and gets to a virtual meeting, we're kind of controlled in so much. When we're in person, the feedback is the least. But the thing is feedback will come. And when proximity comes and they feel closer, feedback will come. Or if they have no connection at all, they'll go over and do that. That's why in this world, feedback, especially if you're going to jump in this world, in the virtual world, you got to be prepared for that. So you got to think it through. Like when I go over and look at feedbacks when I'm doing speaking events, I had to learn to think it through because I used to feel it. And one person said something bad about me, one bad emoji, I used to take it personally and I'd shut down and wouldn't offer anything to the world. So I had to learn to think it through. If several people went over and said it, I would take more weight with it now. But in the sense, if one person goes over and says it, I need to still think it through, no matter if one person says it or 10,000 people say it. It doesn't matter if it's my wife goes over and says it, or I go over and a best friend goes over and says it, or a random stranger. Thinking it through objectively and saying, is this feedback worthwhile for me to go over and change? If not, I toss it to the wind. Now, more people go put it in there, I'm going to take it a little more seriously. But at the same time, if I feel it through, I'll shut down. And it doesn't work out well. Our next tip is having an open door policy. Find a friend to speak into your life. So this one was actually built in 1899 on trading, that we left an open door policy that anybody could go over and trade with us in 1899. And what is morphed into from 1899 to now is saying, I have an office, it's an open door policy, you can talk about me whatever you want. Most people don't go and follow that. They say it's available and they truly don't. I know a few, like my boss, because he's an awesome boss, but the rest of them I've met, no, they truly don't have an open door policy. But the thing is that you need to have that in your life if you want to grow your emotional quotient. You really want to be thriving in the boardroom. You got to have that friend or coworker or mentor be able to speak in your life, frankly. And it goes back to taking the feedback well, is that you have to go over and think it through when they go over and deliver it. But you got to have the right person go over there. Are they going to be faithful? Are they going to be available? Are they going to be teachable when they bring bad feedback to you? And then going over and being a good servant. And that's the same thing that you need too, is when you bring that open door policy, that you need to be faithful to take it. You need to be available to go take it. Are you going to go over and think you're going to be teachable when they go over and bring it? And then are you going to be a servant of the information and go over and use it? So that's a real good one to go over and to practice. Let's check our comments real quick. Okay. Interesting. All right. Latone, if I'm not sure on how much you're paying, if you want to get back to me, you can always instant message me. I just don't know in context what you're asking that for. All right. Thank you. Go back into there. The last couple, only get mad on purpose. A breaking room. We can be an angry nation. As Americans, we've had a lot of things. There's a lot of sensationalism in many different worlds. We won't go what's in today. You can just read the news and But we need to make a choice to be mad. Our emotions are not bad. It's the actions that are attached. If I'm frustrated and I go take it on a breaking room, that's a good place to get mad at, because I might be frustrated at X, Y, and Z. Or I go over and go shooting on the weekend, at Targets and whatnot. Or I go over and hit a punching bag. Whatever it is, make that choice on where to put those emotions at. The same thing for sadness, the same thing for gladness, those types of things. It has to be on purpose, because if you just have emotion, you see that person's like, yeah, you're like, and it doesn't work. So take that frustration, take that anger, and put it on purpose. Mothers Against Drunk Driving started because they were angry at losing their kids because of drunk drivers. That's another way to put your mad on purpose. And our last one for this evening is make your feedback direct and constructive. So if you get the opportunity to give feedback, like you got permission in someone's life or at work or in a place that says, hey, we're allowed to go do feedback, the best way to go do it is direct and constructive. So that means you had to think it through and not feel it through. So the people that are my mouth thinkers, you're more direct or more inspiring style. And that's another lesson another time. You tend to spew your thoughts out. The other style doesn't. So it has to be a balance of both, not to keep it in the head forever and never say anything, and not to just go spew your emotions out. So when you get a chance to do feedback, make it direct and constructive, and then that will go over and work well. All right. So that's pretty much about it. I still kept it in 20, 25 minutes. Amazing. So our golden grenade for today. So everybody that's watched this, 92% will be forgotten by the time you leave this video. Doesn't matter if you go on over and you're a great follower or you're just a passer through. This is the one thing I want you to go over and remember. We all have the time, especially now, to grow in our EQ each day. This growth will pay more than any job you can find. Because when you have great EQ, you go over and thrive, and the opportunities come to you, and the relationships come to you, and the relationships and the money and the success, no matter if you're a dollaire or a billionaire, has more dividends than any other job will give you. I've been through tons of them. I know. All right, again, so thank you guys all for going over and joining. We will soon start having content. We're going to work on sending content to the War Hero to superhero.tv. So next week, we will be doing interviews with war heroes that became superheroes. I am filtering those things through. So if you're available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's based on first come, first serve, you get me a bio, you get me a war hero to superhero story. We'll interview you live on my live, broadcasted through Facebook and through YouTube and through Periscope, and we will get you out there. And then if you have a great story that goes over and resonates with our people, we'll go over and put you on our TV show and also on our website, warherotosuperhero.tv. Again, go over and connect me with those if you want to go over and do that. We'll start having content on the website this week. That'll be great. And we'll have our player, because our show went live. And last, and certainly not least, on every single show, if you are struggling in your marriage, in your family, in your leadership, we'd love to go over and connect with you. DM us. 20 minutes guaranteed to go over and to go over and serve you. And then if you need more, we'll go over and go from there. All right. So thank you guys all for joining. Even the trollers, at least gave some unique interaction. Let me double check comments before we go. Nope. All right. And just for funsies, Bert, I can't read your mind. Not yet. All right. You have a good week. Bye.